Have you ever made a baby quilt? I have. I've made a few, as a matter of fact. Several. It's interesting because you would think making a baby quilt would be fairly straightforward. But there's some decisions to make. But there's always decisions to make. And I think the biggest decision for me is, what should the finished size be for the baby? Well, I guess that depends on the function. Well, I'm here to explain to you my process of why I choose the different sizes for my baby quilts. Welcome. I'm Angela Davis, and I'm the 4am Quilter. Stay tuned while I show you the baby quilt that I made. It's actually a little mini quilts that I've made, the reasons why I made them, and my process. This is the first quilt I ever made. I started it in 1991, the year that I was engaged to be married. And at that time, it was very popular to take a beginner class where you did a sampler quilt. And it was also very popular to teach hand piecing and hand applique. And then at the end, they taught you how to hand quilt. This particular quilt has 6 blocks. The top one is the grandmother's fan. Next to it is the Dresden plate, the Ohio star, the Ohio rose, the basket, and the pinwheel. And the idea was each block taught you something specific about a certain skill. And I believe it was an 8-week course, and we met weekly, and each week they taught us each block, and then they would teach you the lattice strips and the border, and then at the very end, they taught you how to hand quilt. Well, I didn't finish it until probably 2 years later, after we were married, but I did get it done. I did do hand quilting, I did ties along the border, and I did the traditional binding. It has faded after all these years, and I've got some mending to do, but this is a typical crib size quilt, and I'll measure it for you now. Approximately 37. Oh, can I reach it? By about 52. And that's a pretty standard crib size quilt. Crib size batting comes in 40 by 60. So that's a good size for a baby quilt. And it's actually called a crib size quilt. This is good. I mean, obviously you wouldn't put it in the crib, but it's wonderful to display in the bedroom with the baby. So this is one size, and this is a size that the baby can grow into. And I'm going to show you another size next. This is a rail fence, and this is also one of the very first quilts I ever made. The first one I showed you, I started in 1991. I didn't quilt again after that until 1999. And in 1999, I took a class from a local quilt shop in Columbus, Ohio. And this time, the class was designed to teach you all the speed techniques. How to do a 1/4 seam allowance accurately, how to assembly line sew, how to sew strips, how to accurately cut, and how to do everything by machine. And then at the end, you have the option to machine quilt it or hand quilt it. And in this particular class, you finished 3 quilts, and each quilt was a different design. This one is a rail fence. I also did a double arch chain, and I also did a log cabin. This particular quilt is also a good size baby quilt. It's approximately 37 inches. Oops. By 43. So it's a little bit smaller than the crib size quilt. And what's nice about this one, I consider this to be also a lap size quilt. This is nice, you know, when you're sitting on the couch and you just want something to cover your legs, you're reading a book, you're watching TV, you're drinking your cocoa, your coffee, your hot tea. The other size quilt that I want to show you, is the quilt that I made for our son when I was expecting with him. Here it is. It's all flannel, just done in a checkerboard fashion. The back is flannel. Each one of my children got one of these quilts, and I did them all in flannel. I'm showing you our son's because that's the first one I found. They're packed away. I don't know why I'm packing them away. I should leave them out and display them. This one is approximately, I believe, it's about, this one is approximately 32 inches square. Now, you may think that's awfully small, but in reality, it was a perfect size. You see, Ben was born in October, and whenever I would take him somewhere, he always had to be in his carrier. This was a perfect size because I could cover him up in his carrier, and it wasn't so big that it became cumbersome. And let's face it, new dads, new moms, you have the diaper bag, you have your wallet, you have your phone, you have your purse, and then you're going to carry around a full-size quilt? No. This was the perfect size. So I ended up making one for each one of my children, and they actually used this well into the toddler years. And it was perfect. It was just a nice little size. So I guess the first thing is, when you make a baby quilt, what is the function of it? Do you want this to be something that they're going to carry around? So you want something that's a size like this one that's easy to carry. It's going to cover the baby, keep them warm. You can lay it on the ground, lay the baby down if you like. You're going on a picnic, that sort of thing. Lay it inside the car. You need an extra changing mat. Perfect. You know, it's that nice size. You can take it where you want to go. This size is nice for once they're out of the crib and into like the in-between toddler crib, you know, where they just have the three sides, into a toddler bed. This is a perfect size, and so is the lap quilt that I showed you. So I guess that's the first thing. I always had to think, what do I want the purpose of the quilt to be when I make a baby quilt? Now, the quilt that you're going to see me making today is a little mini quilt. Now, this is approximately, I think, 17 inches square. And the purpose of this one actually was, number one, I wanted to talk to you about baby quilts and the different sizes. But number two, I wanted something pretty, not just a little practice piece, to practice my meandering free motion stitching. So there's a lot of videos about how to make little sandwich pieces to practice your free motion stitching, but I actually wanted a little quilt when I was finished. So this is a nice doll-size quilt. And we have enough children in our family, in the extended family, where, believe me, this won't go to waste. It'll get used. So that is a great way to practice if you want to practice different stitches, or if you want to practice different types of threads or different types of tension on your machine, or if you want to practice your hand quilting. Make a baby quilt. But don't discount the little doll quilts as well. These are a great size to practice on. You're going to notice something different throughout the video. I had my logo done. Well, actually, I did it myself. My new logo, well, you've seen it before in a couple of my videos, but there it is. The 4M Quilter, share, care, and create. Why sleep when you can sew? And then I also had this water tumbler made. And these are all my stitches. And if you're interested in purchasing one, you can go to I need art at yahoo.com, and you can email the company and get more information about how to order one of these t-shirts for yourself or the watercraft. Let them know that Angela sent you, that you watched the video, and that you were referred by me. So it's ineedart@yahoo.com, and need is not N-E-E-D as in need, the opposite of want. Need as in you're kneading dough. I-K-N-E-A-D art@yahoo.com. And the I is not capitalized. It's all lowercase. The owner made me very specifically say the I is not capitalized. It's all lowercase. Lowercase I-K-N-E-A-D art@yahoo.com. So with that being said, hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it. And I'll see you at the end. I started out by choosing my fabric. I chose some regular cotton that I had. I chose some muslin to be my offset color, meaning my consistent color. It's a little bit scrappy. I also chose some shirting fabric. I cut them at 3 inches so they would finish at 2.5. I thought that the couple of shirting fabrics that I chose gave the little quilt, a nice little bit of texture. Always remember to take your time when cutting. First off, you want to be safe, but second off, you want to be sure to cut your strips nice and straight and make sure that you're cutting on the correct cutting line. I've made the mistake of cutting something at the half-inch mark when I wanted it to be at the inch mark because maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention or concentrating on what I was doing and making that mistake before. So just always be conscientious of what you're doing when you're cutting your fabric. Assembly line sewing is a great opportunity to practice your scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. I lay one strip down and then I lay another strip on top. And I make sure it's very smooth, very flat, and I nest those two seams together. And I check on the inside to make sure those seams butt right up against one another. And then once it's nice and flat and smooth, I cut. I arranged the blocks in what I thought was a nice combination. I'm putting one row on top of another in the order that they're in. And then I'll take them to my sewing machine and stitch them. Again, I put one row on top of another. I brought them to the sewing machine, and I'll sew those rows together. switch out your presser foot and put on your free motion presser foot. I had my logo done. Well, actually, I did it myself. My new logo, well, you've seen it before in a couple of my videos, but there it is. The 4M Quilter, share, care, and create. Why sleep when you can sew? And then I also had this water tumbler made. And these are all my stitches. And if you're interested in purchasing one, I need art@yahoo.com, and you can email the company and get more information about how to order one of these t-shirts for yourself or the watercraft. Let them know that Angela sent you, that you watched the video, and that you were referred by me. So it's ineedart@yahoo.com, and need is not N-E-E-D as in need, the opposite of want. Need as in you're kneading dough. I-K-N-E-A-D art@yahoo.com. And the I is not capitalized. It's all lowercase. The owner made me very specifically say the I is not capitalized. It's all lowercase. Lowercase I, K-N-E-A-D art@yahoo.com. Well, it was a lot of fun making this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss when I post another video. Remember, keep sharing, keep caring, and keep creating. And why sleep when you can sew? We'll see you next time. I'm Angela Davis, the 4am Quilter. Take care.